Hey folks, this is BestInSlot, continuing our coverage of Season 3 of Camp Cretaceous. Tonight we're going to do something we did in Season 2 as well, that is tracking down the best references and Easter eggs hidden throughout Camp Cretaceous Season 3. This video then will contain spoilers throughout, so if you haven't seen Season 3 already, you shouldn't watch it. Or if you're just an immensely chill person, you don't really care about spoilers, you want to see some cool Easter eggs, this is for you as well. I will try to keep the spoilers only relevant, however, to the current Easter egg. Now, I recorded this video about 10 hours ago and I accidentally deleted it. I've spent the last 10 hours trying to rescue the bloody thing and I failed, so that's why it's uploading so late at night. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let's go, let's get this started. Right off the bat in episode 1, we've got a scene where they leave Bumpy behind at the docks. It gave me big Fallen Kingdom Brachiosaurus vibes, though thankfully Bumpy didn't burn alive a moment later, which is a nice surprise. Thankfully neither did the Brachiosaurus, yet anyway, because they pop up above a misty tree line in a scene very reminiscent of the one with Grant and the kids, and how they experienced them in the original Jurassic Park. Much later into the same episode, during a run-in with some Dimorphodon, Yaz realises she's a big old dummy and has to placate them by returning their egg to them. Slowly, like a certain Miss Kirby did with some certain velociraptors. The entire hang glider sequence that shortly follows was also very reminiscent of the opening of Jurassic Park 3 in several different shots, particularly the shot of it looking ruined and tangled and sort of torn within the branches. R.I.P. Mr. Hildebrand. On to episode 2 now for a scene a lot of people were excited for, the Aranosauruses in the fog. The opening before the attack though actually harkens back to the aviary and the sky bridge in Jurassic Park 3. There's this fog creeping in, our protagonist is slowly wandering through it and they come up against this giant metallic structure suddenly becoming visible. That same scene has what is definitely the most direct callback yet, as the gang are pursued by two Aranosaurs, which proceed to kind of snap at each other in a nearly identical manner to the raptors entering the kitchen in Jurassic Park 1. Aranosaurus wasn't done yet though, wanted to steal the spotlight a little bit. They attack the gang as they try to escape on their ship. I promise the show does try to explain this behaviour, sort of. The initial foray forward towards the ship is a very clear homage to the snaking underwater movements of the Spinosaurus sail towards the end of the third film. Episode 3 sees our group moving to Kenji's dad's penthouse where there's a giant ceratopsid head, a Xenoceratops seemingly, which feels like a pretty direct nod to the ceratopsid skull in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The episode then goes hard on the Jurassic Park raptor references. First with this scene as the Monolophosaurus pops up in the circular window frame. We'll have another one just like this later on. And then a couple of minutes later, another Monolopho tries to barrage its way into the penthouse, with the kids pushing against the door as hard as they can to keep it out, like Sattler and Grant do in the Visitor Center Command Center. Control room, that's the word I was going to use there. Episode 4 has some of my favourite references, but this first one isn't so much a reference as, well, just look at it. It's the original Visitor Center. I think as Easter eggs go, this is less an Easter egg and more like an Easter omelette slapping you in the face, but, you know, we're going to throw it in anyway. Next up is a very cool one though that I've seen a lot of people talking about already, as Yaz jokes about how Jurassic Park is cursed because the old owner broke his ankle and then was eaten alive by Compsognathus. She's corrected very quickly by Darius, saying that Hammond dies of natural causes, but that is actually how Hammond died in the original Jurassic Park novel. Rather predictably, once we get inside the centre, the references pile up. Blue pops up at the back near the raptor mural from the first film, exactly how the raptor does in JP1 in the climactic sequence. To solidify it further, Kenji calls her a clever boy, and Darius quickly corrects him, and he eventually calls her a clever girl. Outside and still dealing with Blue, Darius tries to calm her down by holding his arm outstretched and his palm facing outwards, telling her to remain calm. Very, very similar to Owen Grady's approach to the raptors from the start of Jurassic World. And then very upsettingly, I couldn't spot any references for 2 whole episodes, and then episode 7 hits like a truck. First up we have Darius fleeing from a Sinoceratops, in first person, the view mode, looking back behind himself at night time as it roars from a distance. I initially thought this one was a bit of a stretch, but I'm becoming more convinced. It seems very similar to me to the scene in Jurassic Park 1 where Muldoon, Sattler and Malcolm are escaping from the wrecks in the Jeep, and it gets kind of stuck behind the tree and it roars at them from a distance. There are 2 more obvious ones following pretty quickly though. Firstly, the kids are once again hiding behind a giant log as a herd of dinosaurs flock over the top of them. This time it is parasaurs rather than gallimimus, and I'm pretty sure they've done this reference before. A little later in the same scene, they run off into a herd of parasaurs, eventually darting off the side into the forest. We've heard that before. This could be similar to the same galley scene from Jurassic Park, and is a little bit, but to me it felt very similar to Grant et al. Running through the herd of parasaurs and Cretaceous during Jurassic Park 3. The next episode had a bunch of the more obvious Easter eggs, starting with a battle between the two E750 specimens. I did say there would be spoilers. With Darius and Ben rolling left and right between them as the two titans square off above. Even some of the camera angles are plucked straight from the Spinosaurus vs Tyrannosaurus Rex fight in Jurassic Park 3. And as a result of that fight, the limousine ends up perched against a giant tree, precisely like the Explorer vehicle does just before it tips over in JP1. And just to hammer that Jurassic Park theme home, Darius mentions very quickly afterwards that some dinosaurs have frog DNA and would be capable of asexual reproduction. That's how we think the second E750 appeared. Now this is really the first time this has appeared properly in the franchise in a very, very long time. And then one of the more obvious references in the entire thing, at some point Kenji and the girls run into a agonizingly adorable baby Brachiosaurus that frankly isn't in the show for nearly long enough. And in order to lure its family back and save the day, Kenji cups his hands to his mouth and makes a Brachiosaurus call. That was a terrible pronunciation. A Brachiosaurus call ripped straight from Grant in the treetops. You know, kind of like a... I kind of sound like Dory imitating a whale, but go with me here. This episode really is loaded with references. Later on, the Monolophosaurus attack the group as they hide in the very same kitchen from Jurassic Park 1. So of course there are 10,000 direct references to that exact same scene. And then to solidify that JP1 homage, E750 and Blue do battle in the exact same place as Rexy and the Raptors once did, though this time their roles are reversed and it's the Raptors acting as the heroes. The battle is very similar though, with Blue being thrown across the room just like the Velociraptor was in JP1 and even leaping on the E750 in the same way. On to the penultimate episode and another of my favourite callbacks, although maybe the least subtle. It is just literally the opening scene from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It plays out before our eyes, but this time from the perspective of the campers mainly. We get some cool overhead shots as well. It's pretty sweet, I've got to be honest. We're into the air on a helicopter next, which inevitably means a Pteranodon attack, and oh look, it's a Pteranodon attack. Aping both the death of Masrani in Jurassic World and the helicopter attack in Jurassic Park the game, this franchise really does have a fetish for this kind of thing. Just don't get in a helicopter, okay? If there's dinosaurs about, Pteranodons about, stay out of the helicopter. The crashed helicopter does lead to another reference though, as it hangs from the tree and the survivors try to grasp onto a rope to keep them safe as the copter plummets to the ground below and explodes. They always explode. This is a very clear reference to the trailer scene from the Lost World Jurassic Park. Finally then, and a more general one pointed out by Siaka, thank you very much, the creation of E750 itself bears remarkable resemblances, honestly, to the creation of the Troodon in Jurassic Park the game. Both are venomous creatures that were ordered to be destroyed by their owner, by the big boss man. That would be Mills for the E750 and Hammond for the Troodon, but their creators, i.e. Wu or Sorkin, decided to preserve them instead. And it goes very badly, because it's Jurassic Park, so of course it bloody does. People never learn. But there we go folks, 27 I think, Easter eggs, references, homages, callbacks, whatever word you want to throw out there. A handful of these are a stretch, I will concede, but in a season loaded with nostalgia, particularly in the first half, and a lot of very clear callbacks, I think most of these hold up pretty well to scrutiny. Even if they're very subtle ones, it's just the slight placement of the camera or the way the camera moves and the camera angles that are used that are very clearly trying to just spark a little bit of nostalgia, you know? Did I miss any though? Let me know in the comment section down below about your own discoveries. I'd be super curious to hear how many more are out there in the show. Do please let me know. Throw me a like if you enjoyed this video and the fact that I've had to do it bloody twice now. I'll see you lovely folks next time. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers much love as always. Bye bye.
Reaching out.